sun is shining, not a cloud in the sky. What a beautiful day. The birds are singing and so am I. What a beautiful day. I'd like to keep this moment for the rest of my life, but I know there'll always be a little toil and strife. What a beautiful day, such a beautiful day.
Hi there, knitters. It's Vivian Lee from The Guilty Knitter, and this is episode 27, I believe. Yes, November the 5th, and it's been a while since I last podcast, so I can barely remember how to do it. I just have a few things to tell you today. Hopefully it won't be a very long video. I have a couple of technique videos I wanted to put in and add to my video or technique playlist, which I have on my YouTube channel, which is, yeah, you've already found me there, so you know where I am. But if you go to my channel page on YouTube, under playlists, I have technique videos there. And I'm going to add to them as time goes on. Anyway, if you want to find me on Instagram, I am at Guilty Knitter, and on Ravelry, I'm The Guilty Knitter, and on Twitter, I'm OSMVIV, but you probably, I'm not there very often, so it's sort of hopeless. But I have a new finished object, as you can see, wearing my Zweig, and I'll be talking to you a lot about that today. I'm very happy about it. Finally finished it. I think it's been on my needles since April or something like that. Although I didn't knit on it during the summer, so I suppose it's not really that long, but I must have taken 3 months off of it for sure. And I have a few things that are upcoming. I want to talk about the knit along as well a little bit. And about my tour. I'm as usual at the end of these videos that I do, the podcast episodes, I often put some pictures at the end. So if you ever feel like just zipping to the end, you can have a look at the pictures. This time I'm going to do a little slideshow of my recent tour to South America and Mexico and Chicago. And maybe you'll enjoy that. So there you go. What else has been going on? Yeah, so since I got back, and I really meant to do a podcast fairly soon after I returned, but things got big and busy, and yeah, a lot of stuff happening at work, so lots of big concerts, etc. And so I haven't had a chance to podcast till now. And I thought I'd better do it now because I've got a couple of days off, and I find that when I have to work, I don't tend to have the time to devote to a podcast because it's kind of a long process to record and then to edit and get it out there and all that stuff. So it's better to do it on a day off. So I am, yes, wearing my finished object, one of them. I have two finished objects. This is my Zweig. I'm going to stand up so you can see it better. I think it turned out quite well. I added a split hem, which I kind of like because, you know, I don't need to have too much emphasis placed on my belly. So I like a little give there. Otherwise, I did pretty much everything. Yeah, because it's been so long, I can't really remember what happened up here, whether I followed the directions exactly or not. But I have a feeling I did. I may have made a mistake. I feel like I might have cast on with the larger needle, and then right away went down to the needle size that was supposed to be for the little ribbing here. So I feel like that's what happened. I can't quite remember, but it seems to have worked out. I was really worried that this was going to be all bunchy, but it looks like it's lying pretty flat, so I'm quite happy about that. Forgot to turn off my phone again. What was I saying? Yeah, I was worried that this was going to be all bunchy, but look, it's lying pretty flat. There's some, you know, short rows on the back that I thought were not going to be successful, but it all worked out well. I loved knitting the yoke. That was really fun. It's all really fun. And once I got past that, because it's all, you know, knit from the top down, I did these little, the little cables that are all over the sweater, and they're like 2-stitch cables, 2 in a row, and then 2. They're like really a 3-row 4-stitch, or else you could say 4 and 4, so 8-stitch motif. That you just do it all over the place. So, I mean, obviously there's a rhythm to it. You know, there's 4 stitches in between each one. But so yeah, I tended to. At first, I thought it was going to be so much trouble and such a pain because I didn't know if I'll be able to do it without a cable needle. But yes, I was able to do it without a cable needle, and that was good. So I'm going to insert a little video right here of my technique of doing those those little cables without a needle. I may have put it in a previous podcast, but maybe you didn't see it. So I'm going to throw it in here, and I'll also put it up in my technique videos. Okay? So I'll see you in a second. So I've got these 2 that are in the previous 2 rows below, and now I have to do the kind of opposite. So I have to knit into this stitch. Okay? And of course, as I'm showing this to you, it's a little bit awkward because I'm trying to keep it in the viewfinder. But you see how I can't even get my needle in there, and it's not much easier when I don't have to worry about the viewfinder. So I did get it, and now I knit into the other stitch. So there you go. I've got my 2 stitches, and they're placed the right way. Now, it didn't seem that hard, but I'm telling you, when you have to stick your needle in a bunch of different times, and then the second time, which is the knitting, keeping the first one in the front while you knit the second one. So that's a 2F, whatever. Yeah, you knit into the back of the second stitch, and then you knit into the first stitch regularly. Now that's an Andrea Mowry technique that I got from her technique videos, and it works. That one works much more easily, I find. It just is not as much of a pain to get my needle in and stuff. So then I knit 4 stitches, and then I do it again. So I'll just show you one more time. Now this is the way she does it, is like I said, like I showed you, sticking your needle in here somehow or other, but I just find it's really hard for my needle to get in there. So I have to pull this way, pull it out like that, hold it, stick my needle in like that. Wait, did you even see that? No. I pull this out, okay, and then I stick my needle in the front way after, see? And then I knit that one, and then I knit this one, the first one. So there you go. So that is the first one. And then this one, you just stick your needle into the back of the second stitch, knit it all the way. Whoops, but don't pull it off the needle. This is a little hard, like I said. This one's easier, believe me, even though it's not looking like it right now. But so I knit into the first one, then I knit into the second one, then I knit into the first one. And I've got them set up properly on the needle, and I pulled them both off, and that's it. And I've made my little doohickey. Yeah. Anyway, so that is how it's done. Okay, on to the next thing. Happy knitting. All right, so now I'm back, and I want to tell you just a little bit of the modifications I did for the sleeves. The problem with me in sleeves is that I get really bored. You know, you've heard of Sleeve Island. Well, that's the thing. I end up getting really bored of doing the sleeves. So I was tempted to do a 3/4 sleeve, but I decided to carry on because I really did want a long sleeve. And the pattern has you go 10 inches, I believe, for my size, 10 inches, and then do an immediate, like, so straight for 10 inches, then do an immediate decrease, like cut down, like, I don't know, 20 or 30 stitches, I forget. And then do a very long cuff, like a 5-inch cuff. So I did like a 3-inch cuff, so you can see that a 5-inch cuff would have been probably to there. But anyway, that would have been way too short, so I had to keep knitting and knitting and knitting. Around 10 inches, I decided to decrease gradually, and then actually about an inch before I started the cuffs, I did an immediate sort of sudden decrease. So that, I don't know, it looks a little odd. I don't know if you can see, but it puffs here a little bit, and then it's kind of straight for 1 inch, and then the cuff. I'm not sure it was the greatest idea, but it's what I did. So, and I did the same thing on this side just to match, and it worked out okay. I made a few mistakes in the little patterns. Like sometimes I would forget to do the second half of the motif, but that's the kind of thing I love to leave in because I know no one's really going to see that, but I know it's there. So it's kind of like this stamp of my, you know, whatever. I sort of snuck it in somehow, you know. Anyway, so it's all worked out quite well. I did, what kind of bind off did I do? I guess I just did a regular bind off in pattern, and I don't have much else to do. Oh, one thing I did that was different is that I, under the arms, instead of picking up and knitting, I did it the Cocoa Knits way, which is to, when you knit around here, like when after you pick, you know, you put your sleeve stitches on a hold, and then when you get back to them, you put them back on the needle. And I knitted around here, and then I just did a cable cast on for whatever it was, 12 stitches. So there was a hole here that I had to sew up after. Julie Weisenberger thinks that it makes a better structured underarm, and you don't get the holes so much, and it's like a stronger seam, which I kind of think she might be right. And it's not hard, you know. It worked out quite well, so hopefully it'll be. Oh, that was my husband making that noise. He's getting frustrated with his work. He's doing some arrangements on the computer, and sometimes the program is not cooperative, so then he makes noises. I don't know if you heard that or not, but anyway, he grunted or growled or something. Anyway, moving on. So yeah, so that was one modification, but otherwise I think I pretty much did it as it was indicated in the pattern, pretty much. And I really enjoyed it, actually. I'm quite happy with it all together. So what else can I tell you about this? Oh yeah, I made it in Madeline Tosh Light, which is a singles, a fingering weight singles yarn. And also this is La Bien-Aimée in a lavender, and it's also a single. Monty is upset because Rosie's taken his bed. Come here. You want to come sit in my lap? Come on. Okay. He's going to sit in my lap for a bit. Oh, now Rosie's gotten up. So maybe he will sit in his... You want to say hi to the people first, Monty? Yeah, there you go. There you go. Hi. How are you doing? How are you doing? Okay. So, yeah, so these are both fingering weight singles. So yeah, I enjoyed working with them. I don't know how it's good they're gonna wear. What are they gonna pill a lot? I mean, it already kind of looks like it's pilling a little bit, so I think it will end up pilling a fair bit, but I'm not too worried about it. I don't tend to do a lot of gleaning, you know, the gleaner. I tend to just pull that stuff off by hand usually, as much as I can. I bought this gorgeous cup which has its own little spoon, you know, made out of ceramics. I bought that in Guanajuato, Mexico when we were there on tour. It's beautiful, huh? Quite happy with that. And I'm going back to Guanajuato for 2 weeks in January. It's gonna be fun. My husband's going for 5 weeks. He rented a place and we're just gonna settle in there for a little bit. Well, he is. I'll be there for 2 weeks, so we'll just be settled in and then I'll have to come home. But anyway, okay, the next thing is, oh yeah, I finished my socks that I had on the needle for a good long time. I forgot to tell you how crappy the weather's been lately. It's just been really pretty awful. So I'm taking my sock off to show you. So it's not very beautiful. But there you go. I finally got it finished after, I don't know, several months on the needles. I just didn't feel like knitting socks, I guess. And the other one has a white heel. Oh, and I'll show you I did a forethought heel. Now, the difference between an afterthought and a forethought heel is that you add the waste yarn, and then it's called a forethought heel because you actually have to think about where you're going to put that waste yarn. A true afterthought heel has no waste yarn. And I was looking at Roxanne Richardson's videos, and I did one of her alterations for an afterthought heel. Hold on a second. So that it has a little more give in the instep, I guess, like the diagonal between the heel and the top of your foot. That sometimes can be too tight in an afterthought heel. So I did one of her little modifications. I did 2 different ones on each of the feet. So I got to try them both out. They both seem to work just as well. So they both fit me very well. I'm very happy with them. And so that was good to get those off the needles. Yeah, I would recommend you check out her playlists. Roxanne Richardson has many technique videos, and she has a playlist of all sock heels, and there's tons of information in there. And in fact, in sock videos altogether, and in many other things. I've got Rosie here too because Maureen is away for a week in Florida, the lucky thing. All right, so those are my 2 FOs. When I was away on tour, I took this with me, which is the Opteca, which I'm making for Erica, the cardigan. And I got some decent progress done. And then in Mexico City, on the first time we went through Mexico City, they took away my needles, and I was really unhappy about that. So I had to buy a new set of 4mm needles when I got home, and I didn't have time to go looking for any when we were on tour. So luckily I had my socks with me, so I worked on those. I always bring at least 2 projects in case something happens. I don't know, like you forget some important part of the project. That's happened to me before. But anyway, I did make some progress. I'll show it to you in a second, but I'm just gonna knit around till I get to the little cable section, and then I'll show you. I'll do a little video on how I do the 2-stitch cables on this, which is a little different because I have to knit through the back loop of everything. And I think I said last time that I talked about this that I have to use a cable or a cable needle because of having to knit through the back loop. But actually, I figured out how to do it. Yeah, it's not even hard. I don't know why I thought it wasn't going to work. I think I had put it down for a while and forgotten how to do it. So I'm just going to knit around here. The day is extremely dull here. I mean, it's raining and it's kind of depressing. The only nice thing is that when I look outside, I see our beautiful red Japanese maple. It's just quite stunning right now. I need to, maybe I'll show it to you in a second. It's quite gorgeous. So that brightens things up a little bit, but I don't know about you, but I find November is a very depressing month. I was glad to hear from somebody recently who really lets Lucy, and if you're watching Lucy, hi Lucy. She says that she likes November because of all the, you know, the sort of curling up, knitting, putting on your sweaters, and enjoying that kind of cocooning, you know. And I kind of get that, but I unfortunately, for me, the overriding grayness can be a little bit much. And I wrote a little post on my Tranquil Garden blog about that, in case you want to check it out. I'll put a link down below. All right, so I'm at my little spot here, so I'm gonna just pause this for a second. Hey, decided to re-record this so that you could really see what I'm doing on a much lighter colored yarn. So that's it. Here we go. There. So for this one, you've got these 2 stitches, and I'm going to take them and put them on the right needle. I find this is easier, and I want this one to stay, this stitch right here, the first one that I moved. I want that to stay at the back, so I'll take it from the back and kind of go to move it onto that other needle, onto the left needle. Meanwhile, pulling this one out, and then I grab it with my right needle and put that back on the left needle. Then I'm going to knit that one through the back loop. Okay, and purl the other one. And then you have, you see, a right-leaning cable starting. It's just a little tiny little movement to the right. Okay, so I'm going to purl these 4 stitches like the chart says. And yes, that's correct. And then these 2, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to move these over, but this time I want this one. This time I want this one to stay at the front, so I'll just pull that over with my left needle. And this one's a little trickier because it wants to get loose, that second stitch. But if you hold it with your pointer finger, it seems to stay, you know, a little bit pretty well. Okay, so now we're gonna purl that one that was the second one, and knit this one through the back loop. So that's one way to do it. As Roxanne Richardson says, there are always options in knitting, but that's the one I've been using for this pattern. Okay. So, happy knitting. Let's see how that works for you. Oh, whoops. Sorry, I wasn't even recording. I just finished talking for 5 minutes. No, I wasn't recording. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed those 2 little technique videos that show you how I do my 2-stitch cables without a cable and needle, 2 different ways. So yeah, you can choose whichever method works best for your project and for how you like to work. So now I'm now this is my main project right now, which is this Opteca sweater that which is a pullover that I'm gonna steek as part of the knit along I'm running, doing a steek / color work knit along. In my case, this is, I'm only steeking. I'm not doing any color work on this project. But there's my panel where I'm gonna cut down the middle for the steek. And I modified the pattern so that I had have a little cable running down each side of the front, because I think as a cardigan that might look really nice. And I've got this much done, and I did quite a bit of this before I got my needles taken away in Mexico City. I think I did quite a bit on some of those longer flights that we had to take. We took 12 flights in 2.5 weeks. It's a lot of flights. And some of them were long. We did 2 overnight flights, one to get down to Sao Paulo at the beginning, and then one to go from Buenos Aires to Guanajuato in Mexico. So we had to fly from Buenos Aires to Santiago to Mexico City to Guanajuato. That was a real pain, but I think the day that I got my needles taken away was that day, because we had to fly through Mexico City, and I didn't realize that they can be I think they have this rule that they can take away knitting needles there, and I didn't realize that. I'd never had that happen before, so anyway, just if you're going through Mexico, be warned that that can happen. Maybe use wooden needles. These were metal needles. Maybe that would be, I mean, I know there were other knitters on that flight who didn't have any trouble. So some of them had metal needles, some had wooden needles, and I was just unlucky, I guess. I don't know. So that was sad. So I ended up putting this aside and working on my socks. But this is coming along. I'm really quite happy. It'll be for Erica, and I hope she loves it. It's for her Christmas present. What else can I tell you about it? I don't know. I really like this yarn. It's the Scout yarn. It's a what do you call it? Sport weight yarn. So slightly heavier than fingering. It's just a lovely yarn to work with. It doesn't split, and it's really quite soft for a what they call, I guess, a rustic yarn. It's not superwash, it's not treated, and it has little flecks of blue in it. Anyway, just love it. So that's been fun. And yeah, so aside from this project, I have another little thing on the go, which is I'm making, this is just yesterday, I was talking to my niece, and she wrote to me and said her son, who's, I think he's about 8 or 9 or something, and he said he asked her for a, believe it or not, a sweater vest. And I have a feeling it's because he's a big Harry Potter fan. I found this neat little vest, and I'm starting it right here. It looks kind of small, but I think it's going to be okay once I get past the ribbing. It's going to show that it's, I'm a little worried. I'm more worried it's going to be too big and too small. So it's going to have, it's just a little sweater vest, blue, dark blue, with, it's going to have a big yellow, or actually gold, F for Felix on it. That's gonna look good, right? These are the colors that he wanted, and then his brother chimed in and said he wanted one that's green with the yellow E for Edward. It's the Christmas Morning Vest by Jenny Santo Pietro. So I'm making 2 of them, and I guess I'm gonna have to try and get them done for Christmas. That's kind of what I said I would do. So I kind of have to keep on knitting and knitting and knitting. You know how it is. But I really have to try to focus on Erica's sweater, because she's coming on the 15th, and I really want to have it done by then. So that's only about 6 weeks away. Whoops, that's, you know, definitely need to work on that. But I have good feelings about that. I think I'm going to be able to get it done. Well, actually, even if I don't get it done by the 15th, she's here till the 5th of January, so I'll be able to get it done for sure by then. And it's funny because I'm making this other thing and it's almost exactly the same color. And I thought, oh God, I'm a little bit bored of this color, but there you go. This was yarn I had in my stash. He actually wanted black, but I was like, I don't want to buy some more yarn when I have this gorgeous Debbie Bliss Aran weight there that just needs to be used up. So that's what I decided to do. I don't think he's gonna mind. He said he wouldn't mind dark blue. He'd prefer black, but you know. Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna do after that is the Garden Gate sweater by Jen Steinglass in these two colors. So this will be my main color, and this is gonna be the wrought iron design. So I'm super happy about this. And I don't remember the name of this. I think it's a Renka or something like that. It's a Norwegian yarn. I'll put it underneath here because I don't remember what it's called. It's like a beautiful raspberry color. I hope that's coming through. And this is black that I bought in Buenos Aires at one of the only yarn stores there that we could find anyway. I went hunting for yarn with 3 other colleagues, and all we could find was acrylic and cotton in most of these stores. But there's one place that had some decent yarn, and I bought a big tube, like it was a 150 gram ball of this 100% wool, but it didn't really have much of a tag, so I don't know what, where it's from or anything like that. But it seems to be about the right weight. So I'm going to do a little swatch at some point, but not right now because I got a lot of things to do in the meantime. So maybe that'll be for after Christmas. I'll start that. Okay, so I'm doing the knit along, and there's still time. If you want to get in on the knit along, definitely time, because I'm going to keep it going till December 15th. You can do any kind of color work or a staking project, or both. If you do both, then you get 2 entries for the draw, for the giveaway. It's going to be some yarn that I bought in Buenos Aires, and a cup with my logo on it. A really nice mug. It's my beautiful logo designed by my niece, Jess Martin, who is Jess Martin Tattoos on Instagram. So you can check her out. She has wonderful stuff. Yeah, so I guess that's pretty much it. I don't think I have much more to say, so I'm gonna call it a day. And I don't know, I'm thinking of changing my format to a different one after Christmas. I will be away in January, so it'll probably be after that I get back into podcasting in this different format. What I was thinking of doing is just doing a blog, maybe a knitting blog, and have some supporting videos as sort of like finished object videos, some technique videos, things like that, rather than doing full-length videos the way I've been doing them, because there's so many other people doing these kind of videos that I'm not getting a lot of people watching, and I guess I'm doing it for myself too, but it's a lot of effort, and it sort of feels like if people aren't that into it, then maybe I should think of trying a different format. I also had thought about trying to get someone else to do it with me, and I would still kind of like to do that, but it's just hard to find someone who wants to do it. Most of my friends are not that interested, so there you go. I have one friend who said she would do it, but she's really busy, so it's been kind of hard. But maybe we'll do that at some point. I don't know. Anyway, those are some thoughts I had. And I will now say goodbye and happy knitting. Let me know. Come over to my page on Ravelry and introduce yourselves. I'm going to try and get the introduce yourselves page or thread to stay at the top of my Guilty Knitter podcast page, which you can find over on Ravelry, and I'll put the link below. Yeah, so that people can see that right away, because I realized that it's way down somewhere. And yeah, it needs to be up at the top at all times. So I have to figure out how to do that. I'm not too savvy about things over there. But anyway, come on over, introduce yourselves, and start a color work project. There's so many beautiful things. You could do a garden gate sweater. That's a gorgeous pattern. And there's lots of other things too. So give it a whirl. All right? So I'm going to say goodbye now. Happy knitting. Hi there. I'm going to take you on a quick tour of my tour. So starting in Brazil, that was, yeah, we saw a lot of cool architecture in Brazil, in Sao Paulo. Some of it Gothic and gorgeous, and other things that were a mixed bag. But yeah, it's very, very overgrown. Sao Paulo, there's nowhere else to put any more buildings, as you can see in these panoramic shots here. There's hardly even a crane out there because there's no room to put anything else. So I saw some wonderful art, mostly craft work at the Museo de Arte de Sao Paulo, all by female artists. That was a wonderful exhibit. I saw incredible art here and there. And here's a wonderful little church. I ate the best ice cream and drank the best coffee of my life, pretty much. Yeah, I bought some of that lovely coffee to take home, but could not recreate it. And here's the group where we were walking around Sao Paulo with this lovely woman, tour guide. And there is our rooftop view. Here we are in Santiago de Chile, where I had a tour of the center with a wonderful young woman who told us all about the history of feminism in that area. We saw some gorgeous murals, as you can see, and eventually my friend and I walked over to Pablo Neruda's house, which is right here, as you can see. You weren't allowed to really take pictures inside, so I took a few pictures through the window and from outside. But it was a beautiful place. And here we are over the Andes on our way to Buenos Aires. So here we are in Buenos Aires at the Cafe Tortoli, which was wonderful. Oh my God, the food was great, and it was a beautiful ambiance. And that is a Teatro Colón, and this is the lobby of our hotel, which was also pretty cool. Here's a place that I found some decent yarn. Here it is right there, Milana. Well, it was about the only place where they had good yarn. And here we are back at the Teatro, and this is the top of the hotel we were in, which is an incredible hotel. It was probably the best one. And there are my feet. Yes, I had some time to relax. And here we are in Guanajuato, I believe. So I'm going to leave you in Guanajuato because I have way more pictures and I'll put them in next time. Happy knitting!